Hey guys, how are you all doing today? I hope you're good. I'm down in the shed at the moment. I'm about to go outside in a minute. But it's weird weather we're having. Just really weird. So when was it? 4 days ago, I was down on the allotment in blazing sunshine doing all my direct sewing. Absolutely lapping up the brightness in the sky. It was gorgeous. But we seem to have gone back to grey clouds and chilliness. So I've got my hoodie on again today. We've had about 6 hours of drizzle this morning. So as soon as that stopped, I've come down to the allotment thinking, yay, that might have done something. I've wiggled my hands down into the soil. Nothing. Bone dry. So watering of the seed beds will continue. It is about 4 inches down, it is moist. So the things which are already established and have got a good root system, I'll hold off watering them. But for the seed beds, they're going to have to be watered. Anyway, as I say, looking out there, the wind's picking up, it's cloudy, but there's work to do. So today's job, actually I'm going to take my hoodie off, I'm suddenly a bit warm. Today's job, I thought I'd talk about it because I think especially if this is your first year with a plot or growing veggies, or even your second year, it's not necessarily something you think about, and it's certainly something I've learned over the years and I'm getting better at, and that is to how to put it, sort of always be thinking ahead. The idea being that the garden can be in continuous production. So for example, there are some plants which they go in the soil and they may be there for a year. There are others which are going in now, which may be out in September, that sort of thing. So I'm always thinking about, as soon as I put something in the ground, I think about when's that going to be harvested, when's the plant going to come out of the ground, is that a time when I can put something else in? So right now, that's kind of what I'm up to. So for instance, you will have seen maybe at the end of March, I sowed all my brassicas. They're just in little modules in the cold frame at the moment. I've sown those now because I don't have enough space to have a whole brassica bed right from this time of year. They have to wait. So what will happen is when the alliums come out in July and the new potatoes, they'll all come out in July, then I could put my brassicas in. If I took those things out in July and sowed seed for the brassicas in July, I wouldn't really get a harvest. You need to have those plants going now. Likewise, so today what I'm doing is I'm preparing to fill the space that will be left when the broad beans are harvested. So they'll come out. I'm actually just having my first beans out, which is great. They will probably be done by the end of June. I think by the end of June the harvest will be finished, and generally what will happen is towards the end of June I'll do a massive pick of whatever's left and it'll all go in the freezer. Some of them I'll dry. Should have turned my phone off. Ignore that. Sorry, that's my train of thought. Yeah, so the plants themselves, I'll do a big harvest at the end, they'll come out at the end of June. That's quite a chunk of space on my allotment to just have empty until, when will I sow? I won't sow anything in that bed until next year, so that to me is wasted space. It's about 1.5 meters wide by 3 meters long, big chunk of space. So today I will sow the cocoa de pampol seeds in pots and they'll go in the cold frame. So those little plants can start and develop, and then by the time the broad beans come out, the cocos go in. Again, if I was to harvest the broad beans at the end of June and then put the bean seed in, I'd be pushing it to get a harvest, especially if the autumn became quite chilly. So thinking ahead all the time, what's going to finish, what's going to come out, what can I put in now in pots in the cold frame to develop a little plant to replace it. And on that note also, I'm just going to reach for two things at once. Ignore me a second. I'm just actually going to turn my phone off. That's naughty, isn't it? We all do it at times. The garlic. So the garlic I would normally take out about mid to the end of June, and in its place this year will go for half of that bed celeriac, and for the other half of the bed celery. But in the last couple of weeks I've just been looking at the garlic thinking, you look weedy, you're not growing, you're not really doing anything. And on the flip side, I'm looking in the cold frame at the amount of space the celeriac's taking up, and I desperately need that space. So I've decided I'm going to have the garlic out today. We'll go and dig some up in a minute, and then get the celeriac in, because that's had a couple of weeks hardening off in the cold frame. It will be hard enough to go out, but I will put a little fleece curtain around it because it's quite a delicate, again I'll show you this, where the sort of the bottom of the plant, the bulb of the plant meets the root, it's really delicate. And because we're quite an open windy site, I don't want them to get whacked around in the wind, so I'll just give it a little curtain. But this is my garlic. I've just pulled a couple out to show you. And I don't know if you can see a little bit of white underneath. You see a little bit of white there? Unfortunately, that is the first sign of rot. It is something we get on this site. It's partly the heavy clay soil, it's not ideal for garlic, but also I think it's partly that it's just been on this site for years, and once you've got it, you'd have to leave the ground fallow for eons to eradicate it. At this stage, with that small amount that's on them, I can actually brush it off, and the bulb itself will be usable. So although they're small, they're really tiny. Look how tiny they are. You can see. Yeah, so although the bulbs are small, they're usable. So even if it means, if I'm doing a recipe with, say, 2 cloves, even if I end up using 4 cloves, it's better than going to the shops, isn't it, if you've got your own? So let's go and get all of those out now. Then what I'll do is I'll give that bed a bit of a tickle over. I've got some chicken poo somewhere, so I'll tickle in a bit of chicken poo, and then we'll get the celeriac in. So just when you think it's all kind of sown and growing away, and you think, oh, I can sit back for 5 minutes and enjoy a G&T. No, there's more to do. Okay, let's get outside and go and do that. Okay, so I'm just going to go and get on with lifting out this garlic. I'll assess it as I go, and if there's some that's really mouldy, I will destroy it. But anything savouable, I will keep. And you will see just how dry this ground is. Loads of chicken poo for that. Well, there's a few. Oh, I'm going to finish this bed, get it prepped for the celeriac, while you guys go and have a cup of tea. See you in a second. Phew. Okay, so I've given this ex-garlic bed a bit of a tickle. Someone's coming to say hello. Oh, it's the newly tickled soil. I had a little bit of leftover chicken poo, so I've popped that in too. Here comes the wind. Now, I don't know how well you can see, hopefully you can see. What I've done for now is I've just laid the pots out on top of the soil for now, so I can sort of gauge the spacing. Because it's a new plant to me, I didn't really have that kind of visual memory of how the spacing should be. The other reason for doing this is I actually grew about, let me just count, 1, 2, I've got about 10 spare. So if you lay it out like this to start with, and then you realise you've got a few spare, from the spares you can look to see if one of the spares is a healthier specimen than one you've laid out. So you can basically, green farmer specs, you can basically choose your absolute best for planting. With the others, I'll either give them away or I might just find somewhere else to tuck them in the allotment. I might even just pop them underneath those red cabbages, you know, there's a bit of space there. Okay, not a celery expert, not a celery, celeriac. So I have been to have a chat with our lovely friend Gary on site who does grow celery. Oh, celeriac, what am I like? So what you're looking for is, it's actually a really long growing season. So ideally you want to get the seeds sown in January, February at the latest. So these all went in indoors in February. They were at the pricking out stage, I think it's right at the end of February, just beginning of March. Pricked them out into individual pots. They've grown on at home throughout March and a little bit of April to keep that warmth. And then for the last couple of weeks they've been down in the cold frame, gradually hardening off. They won't be starting to harvest till about November, but they're another winter crop. So hopefully yours, I'm just looking at the screen to make sure you're picking this up, yours should be at this sort of stage by now, so a good sort of 6 or 8 inches. And then if I just show you this, let's see if that will pick up. If you see this bit here, oh, here comes the wind too, is a little slightly bulbous. You want that just on the top of the soil. Don't plant them deeper. That needs to sit on the top because that's what's going to form your gorgeous bulb for the winter. Look, lovely sprouts coming on it. So, I'm so excited to try something new. Love trying new things. It's the best, isn't it? I was thinking about this the other day. Where's my child gone? Over the years, I've kind of added to the repertoire, literally over the last 3 years, celery, cucumbers. I never grew cucumbers before. The chickpeas, of course, now celeriac. Give something new a go, guys. It's the best. Right, let's get planting. I don't think it's going to rain today. Now, the one thing about celeriac is they absolutely have to be kept wet. So, I'm planting them next to the celery. Celeriac. I'm going to be confused all year, aren't I? But the idea is then, if I've only got time to do a little bit of watering, these two, good firming, which really want to be kept wet, will be kept wet. Also, on the south side of them, just there, is where the sweet corn, or I should be calling it flint corn because it's not a sweet corn, it's for popping. That's where I'm going to be growing the flint corn. And what I'm hoping is that they'll provide a little bit of shade, therefore help us to just keep these precious babies nice and moist. Mulch, 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 water, water, water. Otherwise, from what I understand, you're just not going to get that development of the bulb on the bottom, which is what they're sort of like, if you haven't grown them before, how to describe them, they almost look like a brain. They're sort of like, almost like a sort of a turnip or a swede looking, but they're kind of more gnarly. A flavour all unto themselves, but my goodness, they make gorgeous mash. celeriac and a little bit of stinky goat's cheese as a mash. Just I'm starting to salivate at the thought. Oh, I hope these work. I hope these work, because I know they're a bit of a, well, they can be a bit of a tricky one to grow. You know, just getting the conditions perfect for them. But they've had the best start they possibly can. So let's just keep all our bits and bobs crossed. It doesn't augur well at the moment, does it, that we're having no rain, but fingers crossed. Well, I have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times 3, 27 to plant out. Done 3, 24 to go. It's going to take me a little while, so I will say cheerio for now. Happy planting. Oh, sorry. Just before we go, just to say as well, as I said earlier, I will now put a little fleece curtain around these before I go home this afternoon, just to stop that kind of shake from all the wind, because until they kind of get their roots down and out, they're going to be a bit vulnerable. So, now I will say cheerio, happy planting. If you can get into the garden, I know some of you've got too much rain to get out. If you've got too much rain, can you send it over to us? Because it's just not happening. So until next time, cheerio and take care.